This is Timeout with uSTADIUM. This podcast is for you sports superfans, for you sports debaters, and yes, you, the sports opinionators or hot takers. We take your calls live on air and answer questions directly from the uSTADIUM app.
Woo!
uSTADIUM.com.
I love this intro, baby.
Join in on the conversation with Brianna, Nick, and Frankie. Timeout with uSTADIUM starts now.
Just the best part.
Hey, yeah, that is the best part.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody. We are back on Timeout with uSTADIUM. We got the best looking duo out of the two that we could have picked for the night. Out of the three. We don't know where Bree is. We have no idea. We're looking for her. I think she took another last minute vacation. So Bree, if you're watching, how you doing out there? But no, Bree's off for the night. She had some issues with her Wi-Fi and whatnot, and we just said don't worry about it. Don't stress. So Nick and I are on tonight. You got the original duo, the OG twos. Yeah, we have a packed night tonight. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. We'll get into obviously the NCAA and what they just came out with today, allowing college athletes to be paid for the first time, which is actually insane if you think about it. I mean, there are already athletes out there signing deals, and we'll talk about that a little later. We'll get into to someone that reminds me a little bit of Nick Spano. That's Trevor Bauer. I'll get into that a little bit later. And it is Bobby Bonilla Day, baby. One of the best days of the year. Another 1.19 in the books. That's going to be fun. But yeah, we'll get into Yankees and Mets talk. New York baseball's in a bad spot right now, especially for my Yankees fans out there. But yeah, Nick, let's jump into it. Big news of the day. The Washington football team was fined a record $10 million by the NFL for basically conduct that is toxic and demeaning towards employees of the team over the last decade. If you remember last year, the Washington Post reported that as many as 40 women who worked for the organization came forward and described the workplace as being demeaning towards female employees, as being toxic, that they were sexually harassed and discriminated against. The NFL then went and independently hired an attorney named Beth Wilkinson, and she basically reviewed the culture behind the organization. And as a part of her investigation, she interviewed over 150 people and found out that a lot of this stuff was true. Now, there's another side to the coin here where there are attorneys that are of these 40 women, and they're alleging that the NFL did not do their diligence in terms of releasing a written report, because what happened was Beth Wilkinson, who was hired by the NFL, released a report that was oral only. That was basically just to Roger Goodell stating what had happened. Roger said, I'm fining you, Dan Snyder, this money. Let's move on. And then the attorneys for these 40 women, she's basically saying that that wasn't right necessarily, and that the league should have issued written reports from these women. So it's a mess right now. This story is going to keep going on.
Typical of the NFL. I mean, they just want to pretend publicly image-wise, show that they pretend to care about a situation, fine them, throw the money towards a charity, and just move on to the next one. And fitting of the Washington franchise, that's been just a public and also private, obviously, disaster for decades now, and Dan Snyder behind the scenes of all of that. And now he's appointing, trying to make it seem like he's actually changing and appointing women in prominent roles, almost as a trying to save face and show as if he's kind of learned his lesson here. But it's just it's ugly, and it's just very typical of like the NFL, like kind of like boys club and how they've acted in the past. And it's typical of the NFL for kind of just sweeping it up under the rug and moving on until the next investigation pops up.
Yeah, seriously. And I love how the NFL comes out every year and they're like supporting all these like forward thinking movements. And they're like this, trying to be this like stainless league. And we're so supportive. You're only supportive because it puts money in your pocket. When it comes down to the brand, they're always going to support their brand first. They could care less about anybody else. They didn't care about Kaepernick until people actually started caring about Kaepernick. Then they cared about Kaepernick. I mean,
they're very reactive. They react to everything. They don't get in
all
front.
The time.
Yeah.
It's honestly just the way that they've been doing things for forever, and they'll probably keep doing it that way. But yeah, just to kind of wrap that up, we just wanted to throw that out there. That news broke recently, and these attorneys, Lisa Banks and Deborah Katz, who represent the 40 Washington football team employees, are saying, which Splash has up right now. It's outrageous that, and it's a slap in the face that the Washington football team hasn't been able to release a public statement, or the NFL hasn't either, and they're just kind of sweeping this under the rug. So,
I mean, nothing will change as long as Dan Snyder owns that team and he's not going anywhere. And that's not really the NFL protects, as much as it protects its shield, it protects its owners too as well. And you can't, those guys are Teflon. So there's no, unless Snyder's on film or audio or video doing something, saying something, there's never going to be enough evidence for the NFL to actually, force him out and be proactive about a situation like this. They'll always react to the public outcry and fine him, make him seem like they're doing something about it, but they'll never actually step up to the plate and forcibly remove Dan Snyder, because we know what'll happen with that, and it'll be ugly, and the owners will all be pissed. And the owner, Roger Goodell, works for the owners, so we all know he's not going to be doing anything like that. Yeah,
100%, man. It's the same story. I feel like we had this conversation about a new
every
issue
year. There's a new,
and it's the same.
Exactly.
It beats to the same drum all the time. All right, let's get into it. Our top 10 shout outs to those in the comments. I'm reading one. Julian, I don't know what happened to your shirt. We send out like 1 million T-shirts. I feel like every month. I have no idea if you emailed and it didn't get sent. I don't know.
Email again. Email Nick at uSTADIUM, Julian. We'll take care of it.
Yeah, we'll take care of it, man. We have 1 million.
In bold T-shirts on the subject line, Julian from the show's T-shirt, and I'll make sure to get back to you on it. Sometimes
stuff gets caught up. Sometimes I don't know. I don't know who reached out to you, so I'm sorry about that. Shout outs to RyeJetNet. I don't know who that is, but shout out.
That's
to
Ryan,
you,
I think. Ryan Mitchell.
Oh shit! What's up,
Ryan?
Ryan?
Names stay the same. Yeah, that's
good,
Ryan.
bro. What's up,
bro? What's going on? Chapman. We'll get into that for sure.
Yeah, he's really good.
Both New York baseball teams were embarrassed last night, and more. Mets obviously 20-2 loss to Atlanta, but the way the Yankees lost that game after the rain delay was, Aaron Judge sitting out against Ohtani was kind of weak in my opinion, but we'll get into that later on.
Yeah.
Let's talk offensive line. It's my favorite position in football.
Really quick, we want to give we'll give a shout out to Steve French. He brings up something big. The merch shop, we're going to start throwing up merch like you guys have never seen before. We threw up a John Collins shirt that, I'm not kidding, went viral in Atlanta. So if you're out in the ATL, you'll see people with the John Collins dunking shirt that's a uSTADIUM shirt. So I think we sold more of that John Collins shirt than we sold any other piece of merch we've ever sold.
So.
That shirt went crazy. So we're going to start selling more shirts in the shop. So yeah, make sure you guys check that out, and we'll be sure to post it out.
We're also going to talk about the other football too. Around 6:45, we're going to have Martino Puccio of The Athletic cover soccer and betting for them, and he's a big, as you could tell by that name, first and last name, a big Italian soccer fan. So he'll hop on around 6:45 if you guys care about the Euro Cups and the semifinals now. So that'll be fun starting up tomorrow. And obviously, as you can tell, we've talked about on the show before, Frank, myself, and Bree, big Italian soccer fans. So we'll get into that around 6:45 if you guys want to stick around for that. Martino does a great job.
Yeah, hell yeah, I can't wait. I'm going to ask him a ton of questions, man. You guys were actually right, because I was arguing with you guys saying that
about France, right?
About France should be ranked higher than Italy, and that's like sacrilegious for me to say. And Germany and Portugal, and you were like, watch, Italy's gonna go far this year. So
Italy had a tough one though. Austria,
they didn't look
was
that
a tough
good.
matchup, and as you know, the Italian soccer team. We'll get into this. They tend to play to the competition. They'll play down to a team like Austria, But if, Belgium, who they play tomorrow, one of the better, more, fast and high-powered offenses, if De Bruyne plays, they'll play up to them. So they'll, I have a good feeling about that tomorrow. But again, we'll get into that. Let's talk some O-line.
Yeah. And you can catch all these shows on Apple or Spotify. We every show's recorded and we upload it, so you can check out Timeout with uSTADIUM, the podcast. It's actually a good podcast if you're going to work in the morning. I like it because I like listening to Nick. Me and him last week arguing was pretty interesting.
What was last week one's about? The Nets, right?
Yeah.
Nets.
What did I told you? Guarantee about the Bucks.
Oh, you did. Yep.
Yeah.
What about now though? They're like. I mean, both teams are
yeah, we'll get into that a little later. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's drop our top 10 offensive linemen. Oh, Tristan Wirfs won the fan vote. Damn, I did not expect that. Wow. I mean,
I got an issue with the uSTADIUM fan votes, man. Except, actually, I'll give them credit for Gesicki last week.
No, not really. I mean,
some of them have been rough, man.
Wirfs isn't a bad one.
No, he's not at all, but he's a rookie, and he played with Tom Brady, who makes every offensive lineman look a lot better than he is. And I don't know. I just don't – I wouldn't put him up there yet. But, look, he's got a great, future ahead of him, in my opinion. I think he's great, but I wouldn't put him top 10 yet.
All right, so how we do the fan vote basically is when we do this in-house, we do the top 9, and then we have our 10th lineman or top 10th player. We make him go to a vote, and we push it out to everyone on the app.
10 through 15 we put in. Yeah, 10 through 15 we make a fan vote.
Yeah. So what our top, you see the top 9 there is, so we were arguing about, Frank Ragnow, Armstead, how high do you put Zach Martin? Wow, Nick, Trent Williams putting him up there and putting Martin down. That was a Nick move right there. I
had to overrule that one. Martin had a terrible, hurt year last year. He's getting a little. I know Williams is probably older, but Williams had his best year of his career last year in San Fran and got that huge contract. I think him and Bakhtiari are the 2 best tackles in football.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. What I will say is for the fan vote, Nick, if you had to say right now, we had Shaq Mason, Corey Linsley, Teron Armstead, Brandon Scherf, Garrett Bowles, and Tristan Wirfs ended up winning. Who would you take out of that?
Armstead, and then
rank them.
Who else did you say?
Armstead, Linsley, Mason, Scherf, Bowles, Wirfs.
Armstead, Scherf, Mason, Wirfs, Linsley, Bowles. Because Bowles, again, he was a bust leading up until Denver. I remember I talked to these Broncos fans, and they were burying this guy. They said he was a total bust, terrible pick, had a huge year. They didn't even pick. I think they declined his option. And now he signed this huge deal in Denver. And to his credit, I mean, he turned himself into, made himself a big a payday, got himself a big payday in Denver. He's the starting left tackle there. And, he had an awesome year. I don't know if the last year was just such a strange year, man. And I don't know how much you could take out of certain things and, the penalty situation. I know, and even Splash just said it, the holding calls last year, Bulls benefited from that. I mean, that we can get into that, but I don't know. He probably, honestly, I would probably put Becton over him, a few other guys over Garrett Bowles, just based off of a ceiling alone. And the fact that Bowles has a lot of bad film on tape. And these other guys really don't. So I think Teron Armstead, I know he got hurt a little bit. I think he's the best. Yeah. I think he should be up there.
Out of those fan vote guys we just gave, and someone that belongs in that group, I think it's Teron Armstead. You know what though? Armstead and Ramczyk, they didn't have the seasons that they had previously because Drew Brees wasn't playing as much. A quarterback like Drew Brees, the way they move in the pocket helps you as an offensive lineman to look better and to grade better on those PFF rankings. So
Ramczyk just signed a huge deal too, a 5-year, $92 million extension. So that was he's
awesome, man.
This year. He is. Yeah, I think he's if not if not the best right tackle in football, he's definitely top 2 or 3. So he's that draft. I mean, when you look back on that draft the Saints had, Lattimore, Kamara, Ramchick, like that's incredible. That's an incredible. Those are 3 like elite level players. An elite level corner. Marcus Williams, a safety, also. I don't think he's an elite safety, but I think he's kind of on that next tier. I mean, that's one of the best drafts of all time, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that draft is amazing. That draft, I mean, they had you had all pros on both sides. I mean, you had all pros on the offensive line as well. I mean, that was a sick draft. But yeah, let's jump into college sports now. Segueing from the draft. What's going on in college sports right now with this? With the ability for players to be able to benefit and monetize off their name and likeness, this is blowing up into something that I don't think people realize how big this actually is. You can, as your image as well, you can benefit from your name, your likeness. You have college athletes already signing with brands. So there was these 2 college female athletes who already went, these Cavender twins. They went and they signed with what's the company, Splash, that they signed with? Boost Mobile. I mean, like, to think that at midnight they went and signed with Boost Mobile, they get an ad in Times Square already. I mean, the stuff that's going to happen right now with college athletes, I cannot see the NCAA being happy with this. Nick, I don't know what you think, but I think this.
Yeah, I mean, well, Bo Nix too, the Auburn quarterback, went and signed with like a tea company, and then you have colleges like BYU, our Jets just took the star quarterback from, is getting out in front of this new the name, image, likeness, and saying you still have to adhere to our school laws. Basically, any deal that the athletes, they're allowing athletes to go about and get their deals and whatnot, but it has to be approved by the school. It has to follow their code, the code of conduct between, it's a Mormon school, so no caffeine, which is crazy. So no tea deal, no coffee deal, no alcohol, nothing, no cutoffs showing any arms or like they have some weird laws at BYU. And then on the other hand, it's just the SEC, especially at these schools like Clemson and Alabama, Texas A&M, where these players have been doing this under the table forever, can go about and go to the local car dealership and get this big a couple $1,000s or whatever it may be to go and do an autograph signing. Look, I'm all for paying the players. I never was one to say, no, these colleges basically own these players, because of the revenue that these players are generating for these schools is the only reason. I get the whole scholarships, and they're paying for these great schools, but look, a lot of these kids are putting their bodies on the line. A lot of them aren't going to go into the NFL. So if you're telling me, Bo Nix, let's say he'll probably be a draft pick. Maybe. Personally, I don't think he's that great, but go and make money now while your athletic ability allows you to, because you don't know what you're going to do after school. So
my question is this, though: how do these athletes really know what to do or where to go to get this money? I mean, when I was in college and I played football in college, where do you go? Like, where do you start? I know the age of social media is blown up. So when I was in school, I remember, believe it or not, Splash and people out there, when I went to school, we had flip phones. I had a Nokia. I didn't have the iPhone didn't come out until my freshman year, and people at my school didn't have it until my senior year. So now it's different, but it seems like you need some sort of strategy, some representation as a player to be able to find brands and sponsors. I mean, how's it going to work with school and meetings and playing and practice? I don't know. It sounds like it's going to be a lot.
Well, you have a lot of these slimy marketing agents who, they know every, the top 50 players on all these college, or, I should say 20 players on all these college rosters, and they just hit them up on Twitter or Instagram and say, hey, I have a memorabilia deal that you come and sign 100 footballs, I'll pay you $1,000 for the day to do it. So they're going to get just these slimy marketing guys, and then some honest marketing guys who really, do have legit, business opportunities for them, and they'll kind of have to bring it upon themselves. But I'm sure this is kind of the road that you have to kind of cross when you do get there, and you are here now. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Did you see Barstool? Barstool just signed 2 girls, random girls. I don't even know if they look like they're field hockey players. They're obviously attractive women. So Barstool just went and just signed them to their Barstool Entertainment label. So
are they Oregon players, right?
Oh, they're Oregon players? What sports do they play? Yeah,
I'm not 100%. We'll have to check with Splash. I know he knows all these things. Softball, he tells us.
Softball. Splash knows all that.
I mean, the number one thing that everybody wants to talk about is NCAA football. I think not this year. I don't even know, and I could check with Splash. I don't know if it's next year or the year after that. But now you're going to have this big push for the cover of the NCAA tournament, the NCAA college football game. And, I mean, in my opinion, it's a better game than Madden. I know a lot of people love it. You can play with so many schools. It's great. And, we asked, and Frank, you didn't like my comment. I saw that right away. I think you thought
worst comment I saw.
How Johnny Manziel is one of the best college football quarterbacks of all time.
You think Johnny Manziel, if NCAA football 22 has a player on the cover, you would, if you had to pick one,
he's the perfect guy for what's going on right now with the signings. Like Manziel was the one. Him and like Cam Newton got in trouble for the autograph signings. It'd be hilarious if he goes on there and he's like the first face of NCAA football. Like now that you can do the image and likeness, it'd be hilarious.
Dude, I get the worst taste in my mouth seeing Johnny Manziel.
I know. I hear you.
I just, something grimy about that guy. I just like for him to be on the cover of a game after they just allowed college athletes to benefit from their name,
Who's
image,
your cover
and likeness. Guy? Oh, man. You know who my cover guy is.
Tebow?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
God, no.
Tebow would be awesome.
Guy, man.
Put Tebow Florida on the cover. You make a cool game. You have a bunch of stuff. You have a bunch of new plays, and you could, run that read option.
Bursch goes, I'd never buy him. Manziel is still loved by people in Texas and around that program and stuff. He's still like a god among them. So I personally, I can't stand him anymore. I was interested. I loved him in college. I was interested to see where he was, going to be in the NFL. I thought he was going to be good. But like now I'm just at the point, it's just like, I agree with what you're saying, Frank. It's like kind of grimy when you see him and stuff, but like it'd be almost like a kick in the ass to the NCAA if Manziel was on the cover. That's why I thought he'd be perfect for it. It'd
be an interesting one. Go a little throwback. Have Steve Young at BYU. Throw the lefty up there for Zach Wilson being a BYU quarterback. Just have a little bit of connect those dots for people. People go and buy that stuff.
Throw in the comments, guys, who would be your ideal NCAA cover guy. It could be funny, it could be a serious one, could be an old school guy, could be a current player. I know some people said like Stingley, the cornerback from LSU. I mean, I don't know. I know he's the best defensive player. Obviously, Reggie Bush would be a great one. Deshaun Watson, the Clemson. Lawrence obviously was one I saw too. But the Reggie Bush situation, Frank, and I know you were a lot more into it. He posted a statement. Basically, obviously they took his Heisman away. Kind of ties right into this, right, Frank? The NCAA ruling coming down to take his Heisman. And what did he get caught with again? Was he signing memorabilia too, or what was he doing?
They didn't disclose everything, but apparently, he was signing memorabilia. He was taking cash under the table. He took in cars and whatnot. So yeah.
Oh yeah, the Hummer, right? It was like a Hummer car, I think. I mean,
the Hummer was LeBron too, but they were saying LeBron rolled up in a Hummer to his high school basketball gym for practice.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
But that's something else completely. No one ever investigated that though.
Hummer's an American car, right? I'm surprised he didn't roll up in anything, Chinese or Japanese or something, LeBron.
Nick, China and Japan are two completely different countries.
I know.
By the way,
aware of that.
Just to end the argument, who should be on the cover Splash? I'm looking right now. Vinny Testaverde at the U, baby. Yeah, put Vinny up there. Miami U. That's a W.
I mean, I'm all for Vinny. Greenhead is the man. I'm all for that.
But yeah, no. Back to Reggie Bush situation. Reggie Bush wants to get his Heisman back. He wants all his records to stand. The NCAA and the trusts basically took it all away from him. And now he's saying that because players are able to benefit, why can't I get my stuff back? My take on that is, well, when you were playing, that wasn't part of the rules. So you can't like retroactively go back and say, oh, that's like a player now taking steroids and saying, oh, let me go back to when, Barry Bonds and Andy Pettit were playing and I want to take performance enhancing drugs or something because it wasn't part of like the rule book. You can't say that. So I think that doesn't really make any sense. And people are like backing up Reggie, but it's like, in my opinion, I want to hear what people think, but in my opinion, I think you can't retroactively go back when the rules at that point were saying that you couldn't do it. So
I just think it's such garbage how you just take it. Like, he won the Heisman. Everybody knows he won the Heisman. And then, like, years later, they go and take away and strip his record. It's, like, so petty. Like, that's so like NCAA would do something like that. And, like, at this point now, look, they got shut down in the Supreme Court. They should just get in front of this and be like, look, we were wrong. Like, the kids make the league. Like, college football is above anything in the South and different parts of the country. Maybe not where we are here in the Northeast. Obviously, it's not as popular. You know, you go down a couple hours and it is. But at this point, it's like, look, swallow your pride, get out in front of this, you know, help these players out, make money. Everybody's making money here. Everybody's happy. Or it could get really ugly. So it really depends on like what the NCAA wants to do here. Give Bush back the friggin' records. It's so stupid. Everybody knows he won the Heisman anyway, and just move on from this. It's one of those pivotal moments for the NCAA to actually just, because everybody hate, like, and to their fault, like, they another PR disaster league too. Like, stop being so petty and just move on from this and just support these kids instead of like making it seem like such a tug of war all the time.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think that's perfectly said. These leagues always try to have like this like historic, pristine standing. Like, give me an effing break. Like, you guys are the biggest scumbags in the world. You made tons of money off these college kids forever. Now you want to come out with, oh, we found someone getting a check for $5,000 and we should ban them. You know how much money Reggie Bush brought to you guys? Like, give me a break. It's always the same thing, man. All these sports, it gets me sick how like people just, for the most part, a lot of people just suck. I'm sorry. I mean, especially in these situations.
People in power, for sure, man. It's not the average everyday people like us.
No, of course.
People watching the show and
these kind of people that we're talking about just suck. These suits.
I'd love to see what they're doing for $5,000. Nobody wants to see that, though.
Oh yeah, they're doing what the Clippers owner was doing on the bench. You know, Steve Ballmer. Did you see that?
Yeah,
he was celebrating. Yes.
What the hell was that? I thought he was like.
Nick, I think you've done that before. I think you've done that before when you had a few.
I thought he was going down, man. Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah, I thought he was like something was happening to him when I first saw the video.
Flash, can you get that clip up? By the way,
Steve
hit up uSTADIUM NBA, hit up uSTADIUM MLB, uSTADIUM Soccer. We're going to have Martino on soon to talk about the Euro, so make sure you follow those pages. Those pages have been getting even more lit than the OG at uSTADIUM page, so make sure you follow those side pages. They're pretty gangster.
We're in that weird, 4
it's such a
dead
bad period
of the NFL. This is it. This is the only, Super Bowl ends February. In a normal year, you have 2 weeks to gear up, and then you get, the combine starts. Then in March, you have free agency. April, you have the draft. May and June, you have those like little OTA mini camps to look forward to. But now, after that last like mini camp in June 15th, there, that time of the year, up until July 20th, it's like absolutely dead. And the only news you really normally get is bad news with players doing dumb shit or something going on in the league. But we didn't get. I'm afraid you hit me up yesterday. It was funny because I think you were watching Clay and Luke and Austin from PFF on Play Like a Jet Live, which was awesome. Talk about Morgan Moses, and you were like, "What is the Jets fans like obsession with Morgan Moses?" And like we didn't talk about that. And they officially signed him. I was excited about that.
I've never heard so much analysis and support for a player that we haven't signed yet, but that we want to sign.
They signed him, though, officially.
Yeah, but it was going on for like a month and a half.
Yeah.
These random Jets accounts are like, oh, when are we going to sign Morgan Moses? Where's Morgan Moses? Oh, I can't wait for Morgan Moses. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, who is Morgan? I honestly barely knew who Morgan Moses was. I'm being completely
really?
Who the hell is Morgan Moses?
I mean, he is one of the better right tackles. It was a surprise that Washington let him go, but no, I think like part of it has to do.
I understand
Jet fans are obsessive.
I know he's a decent right tackle, but I didn't know like this guy was that good. I mean, you would think like Trent Williams, was the guy that people were talking about. If you switch Morgan Moses with Trent Williams, that makes sense. But Morgan
Jet
Moses,
fans being obsessive. It's the time of the year where there's nothing else going on. And then it's, I thought Austin from PFF, who was on the show with Luke and Clay, and you can watch them Wednesdays on Play Like a Jet Live. Here's the Ballmer. It looks like he's going down, doesn't it? I thought he did.
That's like Nick when the Jets got Morgan Moses. It's like, actually, Nick,
I don't know if
Nick broke that story.
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't
You broke
break
that
when
story
he officially
online.
signed. I broke that the Jets had real interest, and they were talking about a multi-year deal. At first, I thought it was a 1-year deal. Then Jeremy Fowler said a multi-year deal. I checked on that, and they said that they had two different deals for Moses. It was a 1-year deal and a multi-year deal. He wanted to obviously get this deal where he gets this incentive up to $5.5 million, and then try and get to the market again next year at 31, and get a multi-year deal then. But great deal for the Jets to shore up the offensive line. But Austin from PFF said the way they basically grade and said like you're only really as good as your weakest spot on the offensive line, and it makes sense because we've talked about that too, Frank. And this is not just a Jets conversation, but it has to do with the Jets. When the Jets had Revis and just Revis at corner, in 2009, his like amazing season before Cromartie, like you can throw away from Revis. Like your other corner better be pretty good. But when you can have Jonathan Ogden as your left tackle, if your right tackle and your right guard are shit, teams are just going to line that other edge rusher up on the other side of the field and just attack your weakness there. So with a guy like Becton, Vera Tucker, McGovern at center, who they're excited about in this system, he had an iffy year last year. The right side of that Jets line was really up in the air. So to shore up with a Morgan Moses, you really just did, cement your, the weakest spot of your offensive line with a guy who's a really quality player in Moses. So it really does kind of tie, and it really puts like a bow on, and I was on with Scott from Play the Jet on his podcast. It really does put like a bow on the entire Jets offseason because what was the one issue, right, Frank, besides corner, was the Jets didn't sign any veteran offensive linemen. Jet fans were assuming they were going to get like a Corey Linsley or a Joe Tooney in free agency, and they didn't. They went out and they traded up for Vera Tucker, but they were more than a Vera Tucker away on the offensive line. So, that cap space that they did have, they were able to, kind of flex their muscles here in June, a team with the second most cap space, and get a guy like Moses, who in a normal year wouldn't be available on June, 30th or whatever it was. So tying that whole situation up, that to answer your question is why the Jet fans were so, obsessed about a Morgan Moses, but I digress.
Yeah. And listen, I know Morgan Moses was, for the deal that we gave him, his value is higher.
I know Morgan Moses, by the way. No,
than even like Ryan Ramczyk. Like his value per dollar is higher. He was ranked high on PFF's offensive lineman list. He's a quality player. I know who he is. I'm just saying, like you would think this guy was Trent Williams. And to play off what you were saying, we know with Dwayne, I should have been a Hunter. That you don't have. You have that 1 week link that's really bad. You will get annihilated regardless of who else is on that line. Mangold, DeBrick. I mean, it didn't even matter. You can't move a left tackle to right to play. And then if you do, they're going to move right. They're going to move the rush right back. So, all right, yeah. Let's we'll stay in New York. We're going to go to a different sport. You know what sport that is? We're not going to go to basketball, though. I want to talk about my Knicks a little bit. I know Nick doesn't because I would love to trade for. Well, we want to trade for Damian Lillard, so that would make me extremely happy. The deal that's been rumored, we posted it on the app. Shout outs to I think it was Stefan who posted that, but it was from Fansided that he posted on the app. But Knicks fans do not want to do that trade, but I would.
See, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that, and we can't talk about that, but you kind of pushed a button there. And I know Martino's here. We can have him hang back in
the trade is, but the trade is.
I saw people saying you can't trade RJ Barrett. Give me a break.
It's RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, 2 first round picks, Mitch Robinson, and then you swap a pick. I agree with you. I agree. I actually agree with you.
You sign Randall back. You have Lillard. You have more flexibility. Goodbye. See you later. All those guys are nice little bench role players. RJ Barrett's not a superstar. I know the Knicks want to hold on to any little bit of good feelings that they have. Goodbye. See you later. You don't have 3 stars, 2 stars in this league. You're not winning anything. So good luck.
Yeah, that's the thing with.
Go ahead.
No, it happens with New York teams all the time, though. It's like, and Nick, this happens to you with players in the Mets. It happens to you with players. It happens to me with players in the Yankees or whatever. We assume these guys are better than they are when other teams have guys like Lou Williams, for example, who do the same kind of shit that our kind of guys do, or pick any random guy out of a hat. It's like it's just we look at these guys because we watch them every night and we fall in love with them, but. there's a bunch of other teams that have the same kind of guy, if not better. So yeah, it is what it is. But
if the Blazers would be dumb enough to take that deal, you do it in a second.
90%
of care.
Actually, let's throw Martino on. Martino's better. But 90% of the Knicks fans that we asked that question specifically, would you do this trade? If you want to splash, you want to throw Martino and that trade on. What's up, Martino?
Marty, what's up, bro?
What's going on? Martino, you're a Knicks fan. Are you doing
No,
this?
He's not. He's a Celtics fan.
Celtics fan.
Oh,
do you do this trade if you're the Knicks?
If you were a Knicks fan.
So the whole thing is, like, what is your goal at the end of the day? You're not winning a title with Dame and Julius Randle. And Dame is probably not going to be happy with it. He signed on for another 4 years. But I agree with you, Nick. Like, you're an idiot if you're not tossing RJ Barrett in there.
I know.
Like, all they do is overrate these guys. Mitchell Robinson's probably the most overrated big man.
I agree with that 100%.
He's just not that good. He can't even score for his life. I mean, the picks, it all varies, though. I mean, are they protected, unprotected picks? Quickly, you don't even know if he's a one-year wonder. A lot of these guys that play well outside of the lottery, you don't truly know. If you guys remember Landry Fields. Like, he had like one really good rookie year, and then he was nothing after that. He's just a random Spike Lee jersey. I personally would, if you think you can go get another big fish in free agency. That's what it is.
Why can't you go and get the dude from the I forget his name, Kawhi Leonard? Like, why can't you go get Kawhi Leonard too?
Yeah. No, I mean, you got to open yourself up. You got to
get stars to get stars in this league. You know, and Dame Lillard is a star, and you saw it in Portland. RJ Barrett is not, and he never will be. And quickly, like you said, you never know.
He's like the third best guy you win a title with.
Exactly.
It's not going to be anything higher.
I agree.
As much as I like
And
it.
Frank, you said 90% of people would or wouldn't?
90% of Knicks fans would not do this trade.
Oh, my God.
They wouldn't.
But I guess they just have a hard-on for winning one playoff game and getting bounced right away.
They're just they think that the culture is more important, and they want to keep things intact. And also, like, Thibodeau runs guys into the ground. He's like Gase.
Yeah, he does.
He's like a good version of Gase. If Gase was like an actual good coach, but the way he runs these guys into the ground, like it happened with like Jimmy Butler, Derrick Rose, all these guys just play so many minutes at like young ages, and then they just are disastrous. Like, they long-term injuries, and it never really works out like that. So.
Martino,
all right, Martino. Here. Let's transition, man, because I have a question I want to ask you, and I'll wait until the end to ask you it, though. It's a little bit of an odd question, but we have Martino Puccio. Follow Martino on Twitter. He likes to tweet. He's a big Twitter kind of guy. He's a contributor for Serie A betting at The Athletic. He's a host and producer of the award-winning State of Play Pod. Why didn't you ever invite me on these things, man? You're doing all this stuff.
You wanna talk about second league French players, Frank? You can if you want.
I'm down.
We know Frank has a hard-on for the French soccer team, the overrated French soccer team, right?
Yes, and French women. We'll get into Montreal later. The best, numero uno, we say. But
Francisco. That's what you're gonna call him now. Francisco.
But Martino's a huge soccer fan. We'll jump right into him. Martino, I will ask you though, who is the favorite right now to win the Euro Cup?
So betting wise, or just like public favorite? Betting wise, England moved back to the favorite again. They've been the favorite like since the odds came out.
Wait, really?
Yeah, because
they're always overhyped.
Not really sure why. I don't even remember the last time they made a final. I think the last time they made a final in international tournaments when they won it in '66 for the World Cup. So they always fall short. It's just it's a hype thing. It's them. Spain are actually ahead of Italy, and then it's Italy and then Belgium. That's just with the odds. It's just really about your path to it, because Belgium.
It's not because Italy played badly against
no, it's a path that makes sense. It's because Italy plays Belgium, right? You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's literally what it is. And now that De Bruyne's playing, I'm sure they've shifted because they were just obviously like lying about it. And then England only plays the only game that they're going to play outside of England is this game this weekend. They win the semifinals at Wembley, the finals at Wembley, and they would have played every single game. So that's mostly why it's like that. And then they have the easier side of the bracket. But overall, if you talk to people who watch it and have seen every game, they say Italy's the favorite right now because no one's played better than them in general. Whether score lines, you watch the games itself. England hasn't conceded a goal, but they've looked worse than Italy has. So, I mean, it all depends on who you talk to,
What's your biggest concern with Italy?
I don't really have one. I think it's maybe just health of certain players. There's no real weakness within the team. I think it's just
striking. You don't think scoring is still a bit of a weakness? No. I mean, you could say that for every team to an extent, but
it's just hard to score in this sport. It's not like if you're creating chances, that's all that matters. If you're getting open looks in basketball, you're fine. They're going to fall eventually. They had like 12 shots in the first half against Austria. Just some of them weren't as quality. Hit the post on some of them. And those games drag out. The longer like teams that aren't as good like Austria get deeper into some of these games, they're just going to be more defensive. And that's kind of what's happened. But they'll be fine, in my opinion.
Is Chiellini playing tomorrow?
He should be, yeah.
Okay.
He was training prior to the last game, but they didn't want to push it because they saw this matchup. Because Lukaku's never beaten them in Serie A. So that's like a big thing. He's probably the best defender that knows how to play him. Because all these guys just get overpowered by him. And it's funny that like a 36, 37-year-olds want to handle this beast. I mean, he's just ridiculous.
So of these like lesser teams, right, the Switzerland, the Ukraine, the underdog teams, who's the best one out of the, I guess,
Denmark.
The four other teams?
The best.
Denmark?
Denmark's the best,
they squeaked into the round of 16,
did.
right?
I mean, I think they rebounded well when your captain dies, like on the field like that. Like he was literally dead, and then they revived him with the defibrillator. They played well against Belgium. I mean, Belgium brought off the best midfielder in the world in the second half. Like that's the difference. But they played them very tight. They scored all those goals against Russia. They took a dump on Wales, to keep it as professional as possible. I mean, like it was 4-0. It could have been worse. And then they have another good matchup. I think the Czech Republic's been lucky too. They're not even like that good like that. They won off a red card because Matthias de Ligt, who plays for Juve, got that red card in the 55th minute. The game's a lot easier that way. And yeah, I mean, I just think they're past the best. I think the Ukraine's pretty good too. I mean, it's going to be tough. I think England finally concedes a goal, but you never truly know in some of these games. I thought
Martino,
they would have lost against Sweden.
Tell the audience a little bit about what happened with England, because they had a rough stretch for a long time. They were one of the premier teams in Europe for ages, and then over the last 20 years, they've really struggled to get back to where they used to be. And now it seems like their fans are excited again. So what's the difference now? Who's like the player to watch, or who is their coaching better? I mean, what's going on?
I think it's just better youth development in general. A lot of their players, they never really used to develop. When the Premier League started getting really good, they were just buying foreign players. It wasn't a ton of English guys. And then whatever English guys they had playing, they were really good, but it wasn't just a full team. Like, they didn't even make the Euros in 2008. They missed out on that when they had a bunch of really good players like Beckham, Lampard, Gerrard. They had all those guys. They didn't make it. They usually suck in the Euros. This year was the first year they won their opening game. Like, we're going back to like 1960 or whenever it started at that point. I think it was 1960. And they're just genuinely overhyped and overrated. A lot of it's just the coverage over here and their coverage out there, the way they promote everything. Like, their league wasn't the best league in the world until like the mid-2000s is when it started shifting that way. And honestly, they've had fortunate paths. They didn't play anyone really that great in the 2018 World Cup. They were the best team they ended up playing was Croatia. It had like Tunisia. They played Panama. It wasn't crazy tough on them. But now I think this is a much better team, and Jack Grealish is definitely the guy. That's probably lesser known throughout more, I guess, common fans. I guess you could say casual fans that kind of watch. But now he's going to be moving to Manchester City most likely for like £100 million. So he's not that big of a deal anymore. But He's played like 115 minutes, and he has the most assists for England, and I think he actually has the most in the tournament. So he's a beast.
Their story a little bit reminds me of Italy's story when we didn't qualify in 2018. And you speak to Italians and you look deeper into it, and they're all pissed off because they're not developing homegrown talent in Serie A. They're buying all these players from other countries to come in and play. And when you buy someone from Spain or Brazil or Germany to come play in Italy for your teams and your players aren't playing, they never develop. They don't play against quality talent. They start playing on Series B teams, and you never get have a good national team. I mean, it's just that's how soccer is. It's a lot different. I mean, it's a much different perspective on how to build something than it is here in the States, where there's no unity. If you're on the Yankees, there is a farm system, but you can basically bring in guys.
You don't choose to go there.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with where you're from.
Guy, and even then, it's limited international money with that. I mean, listen, they were more talented with the team heading into those World Cup qualifiers than they were in the last 2 Euros, honestly, and even the last World Cup. It's just they were just piggybacking off Pirlo and the defense. That's really what it was. There wasn't any talent like that, but they got the worst manager they ever could have had. And the league's done a better job of forcing teams to have a certain amount of homegrown players from your youth academy, and you also have to have a certain amount of Italian players on your team. Because if you don't, then what you were talking about happens, where a lot of guys don't get opportunities. And then also it's just their infrastructure is terrible. They're idiots out there. They're just very stubborn people that don't get all these teams don't own their stadiums. There's 2 teams in Serie A that own their stadium. You saw
true?
Yeah. So they always rent. They always
Oh, really?
They're owned by municipalities.
Oh, Italians love to rent, that's for sure. You're not getting that check on the 1st or the 5th, but
go ask Mike Piazza about it if you ever saw it.
Oh, I heard that with his wife, right? Something crazy.
What happened?
Yeah, his wife was just sitting there, her face wasn't moving because of all the Botox and all that stuff, and he's just yelling and smashing. Every time I see him, his hairline's he's just holding on to it. It's
Poor guy.
A widow's peak. I know it's miserable. That's our guy, but. I don't know what else.
So Marty, now I had a random question about the World Cup. So they're playing it in Qatar, right, next year, but it's scheduled to be in November?
Yeah.
Of what? November of 22?
22, yeah. Next November.
So you have to go through all next summer, and then and is that set in stone, or is it still up in the air?
It's set in stone. That's been
so stupid.
Probably in 2012. I mean, it's the most corrupt thing to ever exist. Probably they rigged all the votes. It's been on record and recorded by journalists that were threatened to be killed. That there was $2 to $3 million paid towards each voter for a country. So someone represents Saudi Arabia or Slovenia or whatever country like that. And they put in their vote to who they think should host the World Cup next go around. They paid them $2 to $3 million per vote to vote for Qatar. And then the way they built it is it's in the desert. They built a brand new city, and it's billions of dollars worth of stuff. And they get people from young kids from 19, 20 years old, from Sri Lanka. Who do you call it? Jeremy Shep did a whole thing on this on E60. And these kids are going out there, thousands of them in the desert, building these stadiums, these rooms and stuff, and hotels or shops for people to go stay in, tourists and all this stuff. And the kids were dying of heart attacks in the extreme heat. It's it could be up to 110 degrees. They work from 9 a.m. to 9 at night. The rooms that they stay in.
Out of this?
Huh?
Our team's going to bail out of this because of situations like that. What's the weather in Qatar in November?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's the coolest time that they could do it, and it kind of just it's going to interrupt a lot of things. The season is going on in Europe at that time, so they got to figure in condensed schedule when they're able to go, how they put these seasons on pause. Because sometimes in the MLS they play during the World Cup, and some of these teams lose all their top players. So stuff like that changes. And that's like a lot of money involved for these clubs.
Yeah.
Because they depend on revenue for like Champions League money that they get from the TVs and stuff. But they have to put it in from November 15th to December 15th. It's around then. That's when it's going to be.
And I know selfishly, like, but look at the American TV deals are huge, and
they're amazing.
You're tapping into the middle of football season now. The November to December push is the heart of the football season, and you're going to have a hard time.
It'll be during Thanksgiving.
Especially, like you have the casual soccer fans here are not going to skip out on, Sundays and Mondays and Thursdays of football to watch, the World Cup, especially if the U.S. team is terrible, which they always are. So, that's going to hurt.
The time of those games, too. I got to think.
How's the U.S. team looking?
This is the most talented team they ever had, in my opinion.
I heard that.
Really?
They definitely are. They definitely are. They have the most ever Champions League players on their team that they've ever had. And don't listen to any like idiots that say like the teams from like 2006 or 2010 were better. They're not. They're not even remotely close to.
What about the defense and the goalie?
The defense, the two center backs I don't like them that much. Jonathan Brooks is like their guy, but he's not even a quality, like he wouldn't start for a Champions League level team. So he's not even like that good. He's good for USA and what we expect. Goalkeeper is probably their best. Zach Steffen's awesome. He's a backup at Man City. Havrath was the other backup guy. He came in. If you guys saw that game against Mexico, you probably got.
Wait, so our goalkeeper's a backup on a club team?
Man City, yeah.
Man City, though.
What do you rather him? What do you rather him be playing?
Yeah, that's what people. That's
come
what
on.
People
you want
get.
like competitive. Yeah. You want to be in competitive play. I rather someone be in competitive play than be a backup on one of the top teams. No,
that's what a lot of people kind of have beef with. But I mean, they play so many
Man
games.
City is one of the top teams in the world. So
and he plays behind a top 5 goalkeeper in the world. So he's never seeing the field anyways. The only time is if it's like these stupid cup matches that England have just for money purposes, like ESPN Plus will like pick it up because people will tune in and all that. Yeah, of course. So that's it. But I'm sure he'll leave eventually. I mean, he's got to in the next year or two because you're right. You can't just like sit on the bench. It's not a good experience at all. Yeah.
All right. Before we let you go, Marty, we're gonna get you out of here and go through some baseball stuff quick. Who is your final? Who's the Cup final? 2 teams and winner.
Final 2 teams: Italy versus Denmark. Just because I don't like England, and then Italy will win it. I've said Italy was going to win this one since like 2018. I'm a sicko like that. I said the same thing with France before they won it, but I didn't bet on them. I ended up betting on Brazil like an idiot, so I went back on my word. But I think Italy will. I just think they're a better team. But
that's the rule with betting. Whenever you're confident with something in your heart, you don't put money on it. Then you overthink something, and you think you can analyze it right, and you're always wrong. That's the life of
it's a lose-lose.
Anyone who bets. Yeah, literally. All right, Martino. Ci vediamo, amico. Domani alle 3. Let's do it. All right.
Yeah. All right.
Cut their heads off.
See you, dude.
Yeah. Talk to you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. No problem.
Dude. All right, guys. So yeah, we'll jump into some baseball talk right now. So Martino again, big soccer guy. We're trying to get more into soccer here at the U. Nick and I love it. We just do. But diving into baseball,
international stuff I love. I'm not still very casual on the club side, but the international stuff I'm all about that. I love these tournaments.
Yeah, they're great. They need to do a little bit more with the club stuff. It's too all over the place. There's too many leagues, too many teams. It's a mess.
And they play like weird seasons. Like it's always going on, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, speaking of weird, yesterday in baseball was really, really weird because you had the Mets who started the game with a 2-run home run by Pete Alonso, and the owner This guy's got to delete his Twitter. He has to. This guy, I love him, but he's a complete asshole at the same time. I love him and I hate him at the same time. So I'm like neutral on him, but he's like, does that qualify as offense? Then they end up losing 20.
They didn't score again. Like Nick, they hit a 2-run home run in the first.
They're up 2-0, and then the Braves scored 20 runs. It's like it's literally unheard of. Literally, I've never seen anything like that before. The funniest part about it was that the owner actually posted, "Does this qualify as offense?" Then the other team scores 20 runs. Like, I don't know. That's a football score.
Yeah, I mean, the guy, like, I don't know, the snarky, like, look, I like that the Wilpons are gone, and I like that he's come and he spent a little, he spent some money, even though Lindor's contract is awful. The tweets, man, like, if it's not the whole not the Bitcoin, the crypto stuff that happened a couple months ago, and then
he definitely was involved with that.
Of course, I mean, he's got some shady stuff on his resume, but coming out and just these tweets every day are just so like snarky and condescending, and I'm like, and I tweet from the uSTADIUM baseball account at him all the time. I'm like,
oh, that's
delete your account. I send the Eddie the Mush from Bronxdale gift to him yesterday. And Met fans get so mad because they're so defensive of the Mets, and it's so funny. But I mean, the guy is just like, you can't be tweeting. Like, the team has scored. It takes them. I think it takes 8. They have scored 20 runs in 8 games. Like, it's taking them 8 games to score 21s, and the Braves put up 20 yesterday on you last night. So it's just actually I was, as a Met fan, obviously not happy about it, but I was happy kind of that he kind of got shoved in the face a little bit because, like, the team isn't very good. I mean, they've squeaked by because their pitching has been insane. Jacob deGrom's like the best pitcher ever. Tyler Walker has been a great signing. Stroman's been good. He's kind of faded a bit lately, which I
When's
expected.
Syndergaard
I don't
coming
think he's
back?
very good. Probably not. I mean, Carrasco will be back before him. I mean,
Well, what's up with
maybe
Syndergaard?
September.
Why isn't Syndergaard back?
He had another elbow issue. He had Tommy John in March of last year.
Yeah, but he should be back.
Missed all of last year. Well, he was rehabbing to come back. They thought he was going to be back like late July. They shut him down for 6 weeks, so he hasn't even been throwing. So I think the 6 weeks will probably be up like next week. So then he'll start to slowly ramp up again. But I just don't think the guy's going to be back. I just don't trust that he's going to be back. And the same thing with Carlos Carrasco. Like, he hasn't pitched all year. He's had the hamstring injury. Then he had an arm injury, like ramping back up. So he's been out. I think he'll make, I guess, maybe make a start before Syndergaard does, but you can't count on that either. But, like, the pitching's not the problem. They have the lowest ERA in baseball. Like, the starters, even like a guy, Taylor McGill, comes in and he gives you 3 runs in 6 innings. Like, you should win games like that, but the offense is the lowest, like, average in runs scored in baseball. Like, the offense is terrible, and it's healthy again. Like, you have Conforto and McNeil back. Alonso's been back, but these guys just aren't playing well, and this offensive core is just not any good, and I hope that they don't. My problem with this was, like, it's a fluky year because the NL East is terrible. There are 2 games up on Washington now. I just hope this isn't just like some false, like, gives you some false positivity, because I'm not signing Conforto back. I've seen enough of the guy. I think you need to upgrade from him. I'll let him walk because he wants like 100. He wants like 100. I know. I love the guy.
You've been huge on him for years.
He's soured in the past 2.5 years. He's just not. He's too streaky of a hitter. And he wants. Look, if it was a more of a reasonable deal, I'd bring him back. But if he wants upwards of $150 million, I'll let him go. We're already stuck with this Lindor contract.
You know what happens with some players sometimes? I think it's not only about their game and how they play from a physical perspective. A lot of it's about their personality. Mm-hmm. What kind of guy is this? Do people like being around him? Is he preparing well? Is he engaging with people on his team, with fans? Does he have a good energy? I mean, outside of like the mental part of it about the preparation and the discipline, because I think for the most part, a lot of these players are physically and in ways mentally gifted. They've gotten to a point where they're the top of the echelon in terms of players in their sport, in the world. And I think personality has something to do with it. And I feel like sometimes some of these guys just don't have, like Syndergaard, for example, who we were just talking about. I think it doesn't have that personality of someone that's going to be great. Like look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady's got, say what you want about him, he's got a great personality. I mean, for the most part, he's cool. He's talking to this guy. He gets drunk at the thing. He has a good personality.
Take it a little bit though.
It has.
First few years, he was never.
I actually disagree with that. I think he was unlikable because we were Jet fans and they were winning so much. But I always remember when we were growing up, telling you, like, Brady's actually pretty cool. He's just a cool dude. Like, yeah, he's a little arrogant or whatever in a sense, but a lot of these guys are. But for the most part, he's cool. He's not closed off. You know what I mean? I'm not surprised someone like Antonio Brown like gets along with Brady. Like anyone gets along with Brady. You know, it's like it doesn't matter who you are in a sense. You know, you could be a psychopath and you'll get along with Brady, or you could be the stiffest person to walk this planet and you can get along with Brady. So I think it's something to be said about his personality. Whether or not you like him or not is different. But I think he's just open, I guess, is the right way. And some of these guys they're assholes. They're closed off. They don't want to talk to people. And when it comes time for someone to defend you or to, rub your back, quote unquote, they won't go the extra mile for you. And that might be a teammate. That might be a coach, might be a staff member. So it's interesting how I've seen that pattern now as I've gotten older watching sports. Personality means a lot. You know who I love their personality just because Splash is commenting in our chat? I love Lamar Jackson's personality. I think he has an amazing personality. I think he's cool. He's engaging. He's fun. People like him. The coaches like him. I think if Lamar Jackson had RG3's personality, or ironically was backing him up, I think they would start maybe looking, not necessarily in hard, but they'd start, maybe we got some other prospects out there. No, Lamar's our guy. I'm telling you, there's something to be said. No, Splash, RG3's not goofy. Trust me, RG3's a prick. He's an arrogant, thinks he's better than everybody else. RG3's a complete prick, thick and through. He's not goofy, not at all. He's a military minded prick. I know everything. You can go screw yourself. I'm not saying military minded is bad. I'm just saying in general, he's that kind of guy. But whatever. All right, Nick. Just to wrap up the show.
Well, you can shit on your Yankees for a minute. We're not going to let you off the hook there. Give me 3 moves right now you'd make to fix the Yankees. I personally think the season's over. I don't think they're making the playoffs. They have to go something like, I saw the number, they have to go something crazy, 42 and 30 in this, or 48 and 30 in the second half to make the playoffs. I think the season's over for them. But going forward, are you selling off guys? Or are you going to try and buy players at the deadline to move up to try and make a move?
Selling off guys.
You selling Judge?
No, absolutely not.
Even
best player on the team.
Yeah, but is he someone you're going to pay that big contract to?
The only player on the team that let me tell you that is actually producing at their expected level. Literally, look at the Yankees numbers. Look at the entire lineup. Go down and look at everyone's average. Go look at everyone's numbers. Go look at all the pitchers' ERA. Look at their strikeout to walk ratio, whatever. He is the only one who is playing at his expected level. He's not playing above his expected level, but he's batting .285. He has 18 home runs. He has a 2.6 WAR, which is pretty good. He has 42 RBIs, the only one.
Well, I say that because he would bring the most value back. And are you going to pay a guy who's going to be 30 with the injury issues on a team that's up in the air right now?
The thing is, Nick, you get rid of Aaron Judge, let's just say. You get back a bunch of prospects. You get back 2, hot pitching prospects, and you maybe get a nice hitter. Who's that person going to play with? This lineup it's not good. And It's funny because, not to toot my own horn, I was listening to WFN today, and they were describing the Yankees as having no soul and looking like they didn't want to be out there. Go back to the first show, the first opening day show that we had. We had a show on opening day when the Yankees played. They lost, and I said exactly what was said today after we're halfway through the season. This team looked like they didn't want to be out there today. I am worried about this season. And everyone was people, my friends and stuff, people that, were commenting on the show were like, oh, it's an overreaction. And it was to an extent. But when you see something like that, it just never leaves. The energy's not there. DJ LeMahieu got paid. He doesn't care much anymore. They had a pretty good game yesterday. Luke's been hurt all year. Sanchez, you should have got rid of Sanchez.
Well, you could trade him now, man. This is the highest value he's going to have. Trade him now, you'll get a nice return. Tell me the team's going to want a catcher who can hit like him.
Moving Glaber to shortstop was the worst move in the world. Yeah. That was such a bad idea. The guy's just thinking more about fielding balls than he is hitting. So it's just not where he should be. They should come out today or tomorrow, whenever. I know the asshole Hal, whatever. What the hell kind of name is Hal? Hal Steinbrenner had a press conference today, and he's just blaming everyone but himself. Dude, you're a shitty owner. You don't know what you're doing. You should go in there and prompt Cashman and co. Because I'm not even going to say Aaron Boone, because that guy has no power over anything. Prompt your posse to put Glaber back at second. Say, hey, we're going to put Glaber back at second. Change things up. Mm-hmm. We're going to start, I don't know, Tyler Wade every day in right field, let's just say. Do something. Like, start something. Move Clint Frazier. We've been trying with Clint Frazier forever. People with Clint Frazier, move them. And Duhar's okay, but do you want to play him or not? Say, hey, we're going to go Tyler Wade and Duhar. Sanchez is available. We're going to build this team around Aaron Judge. We're fielding offers. That's it. I mean, there's nothing else you can do. Domingo Germán's been a disaster, and he was good last year.
You probably just got to wash your hands with that guy, especially with what he's got going on in personal life and stuff. I think another similar to the Mets, like this core of the Yankee team probably has to be broken up. I mean, I don't think you have Cole, who you can't get rid of, and you wouldn't anyway. Stanton, you can't get rid of. Nobody's taking that contract. So you're stuck with him, which sucks because he just eats up that DH spot, and you can't save Judge by DHing him, twice a week and keep getting him off his feet in right field. You can't, DH and play the backup Higashioka at catcher and DH Sanchez and get him off his feet back there. So it's killing the Yankees. That DH spot is just getting sucked up by Stanton. So that move is the move, honestly, that's going to probably ruin Brian Cashman's tenure here as the Yankees GM, because he didn't have to go he should have had the hindsight to see, like, I don't have to go and trade. I know I didn't give up much for him, but I took on an aging player. I mean, I know he was still relatively young, but you knew Stanton was a limited player, and you could have not made that move, and you could have, had so much roster flexibility, and not to mention financial flexibility for the Yankees to go out, because everybody likes to say, the Yankees are just going to spend and spend. They're not. This isn't the same Yankees with George Steinbrenner. Like, they are financially, more frugal than they've ever been, and they're up against that luxury tax, and they're not going past it. Like, they actually, reset and didn't sign players last year to reset that luxury tax. So you're not talking about the same team that's just going to go spend. So that Stanton move hurts them a lot more than it would have in like 1998 or 99. So there's a lot more issues on this Yankee team. Like, the pitching after Garrett Cole is not good. And Cashman has kept trying with these guys. Happ, Sonny Gray didn't work, even though he worked somewhere else. Tyon is terrible. So, like, these moves that he's making to get these, like, third, fourth starters, to buy them low and see if they can develop them, he just hasn't been able to. So, Corey Kluber obviously has pitched well, but he got hurt. The Yankees are in a really bad spot, and teams like Toronto are getting better. Boston, they brought in, their new GM, and he's proven, to come from Tampa. You obviously have Tampa. Like, those three teams are getting better, where the Yankees are kind of staying in the middle, and they're not getting any better or younger. So I think they're in a bit of a bit of trouble here, and it doesn't seem like there's any prospects on the horizon that are going to really come up and try and, like, inject some life. I mean, you could bring up Florial, but is he ready? I mean, I don't know. So they're in a tough spot. That's why I would go out and I would sell. I would trade Chapman. I would trade Sanchez. I would look to really kind of sell off anything you can. I don't think Luke Voit is any good. I wouldn't have him as my, future plans at first base. I would literally throw Stanton and play and all winter and all spring, I would give him a first base glove and say, the only way you're playing on this team is you're playing first base 3 days a week and you're DHing 2 to 3 days a week.
I agree.
You can't eat up the DH spot anymore. If you're going to be on this team and we're not going to do some kind of buyout, you have to learn how to play some first base.
The thing I don't understand is, how does a GM of a baseball team actually have the decency to say to an organization that we're going to build a team strictly with home run hitting players?
Yeah.
They stacked an entire lineup of guys that cannot play the field, that just can hit home runs. The whole fucking lineup is home run hitter, home run hitter, home run hitter, home run hitter, home run hitter. That's it. Nobody knows how to develop a run. These guys haven't bunted since fucking middle school.
Yeah.
This team is terrible. They need to just they need to get rid of these guys. That's it.
Yeah,
they need to
it's
but you
very
keep Aaron
heavily
Judge.
analytic.
But
Yeah, all right.
I
hear you.
Judge.
I hear you. And
I
saw the Bobby Boat quote from my mom down there. I know you were excited about that one. But hey, I mean,
we said that earlier, but yeah, it is Bobby Bonilla Day. Congrats, or I don't know what to say. Agudi. What's the
deferred payment is coming in every July 1. Good for him. But yeah, I mean, DeGrom pitches tonight, so I don't think the Braves will be scoring 20 runs. They first pitch I think is in a few minutes. I don't know, Splash, if it's raining in Atlanta, it always seems like it is. So we'll see about that. And
Braves will have 0 runs tonight.
I think one.
On DeGrom, they'll have 0. Then the reliever will come and they'll have 1, and they'll beat the Mets 1-0. All right.
Well, unless DeGrom has an RBI himself or 2, which he seems to do every week. But what about the Subway Series? What do you think? The 3 games.
I think you guys got us.
2 out of 3.
2-1, yeah.
All right. I think the Yankees win 2 out of 3.
I would never have thought I would say that, but I'm so down on this team, and so are majority of fans. But
DeGrom,
Nick,
you're going to miss DeGrom, so you're lucky with that.
True that. Although I wanted the Yankees to
I know.
DeGrom.
If the Mets would have gotten rained out tonight, I think they would have been in line for DeGrom Cole. I think. I'm not 100% sure, but it would have been close. But
they should have made that happen.
I know.
Baseball doesn't do stuff like that. They don't know how to do stuff like that.
They really don't.
All right, so let's go through it, Nick. We have I'm going to give you 3 teams. Tell me if they're going to win the championship in their respective sport. So last night, the Phoenix Suns have advanced to the NBA Finals. Congrats to the Suns.
Good for them. Happy for CP3.
Yeah, they have a really nice team. I think they're the favorites at this point. They're consistent at every level.
They're healthy. They're the only healthy team left.
Yeah. So, Nick, Phoenix Suns, yay or nay?
Yeah.
Are they going to win the finals? Yay?
Yeah,
okay.
Easily.
Easily versus, all right, series
5
versus
games.
the Hawks.
5
versus the Hawks.
Yeah.
Bucks.
Yeah.
How many games?
I think the Hawks are going to beat. Oh, they would sweep the Bucks.
That's tough.
I think the Hawks are going to win the Bucks series, and I think the Suns beat them in 5.
It depends on Trae Young. We'll see tonight, but yeah. All right, cool. So the Vegas Lightning, Nick, are up 2-0 in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Bursch was at the game last night.
Yeah,
I saw the Jack show after the game. I'm all in on the Lightning.
Oh yeah. So Bursch is saying he just said the Suns in 6. Bursch, who do you got? Lightning and what? Because I know you're a big.
He's a Lightning fan.
He's from Tampa Bay. Bursch, what do you got with the Lightning, dude? You know what, guys? I'm gonna go out on a limb because we just spoke about France with Martino. I've been getting this French vibe lately. Montreal, baby, is one of the best cities in the world. It is an amazing place. If you haven't been to Montreal, just don't go in the winter. Go to Montreal. It is one of the finest cities for a variety of reasons in the world. I have a feeling Montreal is going to make this a series. I'm going to say this. It's going to go 7 games. It's going to go. If I had to make a bet, I'm not going to say Montreal's going to win, but I think it's going to go 7. Montreal's going to come out hot. That's a hot city, Nick.
I'm out on Montreal since Splash and Jack taught me on their post-game shows that they've been doing after the finals games and the Eastern Conference and Western, that Montreal hasn't gone to the Cup since like the 90s, and they're supposed to be like the granddaddy of the sport. So no, that Montreal is not doing anything. Lightning are going to win easily.
I'm telling you, Montreal's a
What's your third for me?
Third is Italia.
Oh, yeah, they're going to win.
The Azzurri, what do you got? 2-1.
3-1 tomorrow.
Oh, nice. 3-1. That'll be a nice one.
Yeah. A late goal. It'll be 2-1
okay.
Up until late.
All right. I like that.
They score off like a counter. Belgium's pressing. De Bruyne is trying to tie it up, and Italy scores on a counter to win, seal it.
All right, so let's end the show. shout outs to everyone listening. We're going to post this in our podcast as always. You can check that out on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. It's Timeout with uSTADIUM. Bree wasn't in tonight. She was having power difficulties and tech problems, so she'll be on next week. We'll get it rolling again next week. It was a dead period in the NFL too, so it was a tough one to do with NFL stuff. We just could talk about Dan Snyder, but next week we'll have a show with some more NFL topics.
Training camp starting soon. 3-4 weeks.
Training camp starting. Yeah, 3.5 weeks. Training camp will start, which will be nice. The Trevor Bauer story we didn't get to. In a nutshell, the guy's a maniac. He's insane. You can tell by watching him talk or reading his tweets. The guy's nuts in the head. So these stories are probably all true. Now, is the girlfriend or something going too much with it? I don't know. Maybe that's for your calling. But if you're dating Trevor Bauer, there's probably something wrong with you. So that's all I'm saying about that situation. There's something wrong with you if you're dating Trevor Bauer. Can we agree on that?
I mean, Trevor Bauer is definitely odd. That's for sure.
He's a weird dude.
He might be a lot worse than odd. We'll see.
Yeah, but that was Nick's nickname in college. By the way, we used to call you Mr. Power Bauer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Nick was a hottie. Nick was a hottie in high school. By the way, all the girls used to love. All the girls used to love Nick in high school. When we used to have parties. We used to have Nick calling girls from our grade because you're above him. The grade above us and the grade below him. This kid would be calling girls in the entire freaking high school.
Facilitator, like Jason Kidd.
This kid would invite people.
Most underrated point guard in basketball history.
That's Steve Nash, Nick. We spoke about that last week.
Couldn't hold his jock.
What a job Steve Nash did.
Great coach.
All right, guys, that's Timeout with uSTADIUM. Shout outs to Splash, our producer. Shout outs to everyone out there that has supported us throughout the way. The merch shop is going to launch with some cool shit soon, so make sure you look out for that. And yeah, that's Timeout.
You can get a mug too.
We out.
See ya.